Hi and welcome to my home studio, or my shed as it's sometimes known. What I thought I'd do, instead of clogging up the internet with yet more photos of my drums, I thought instead I would do some video. It's a bit more fun, it's a bit more interactive, and you get to see a bit more of the drums. Instead of starting off with something which I'm probably a little bit more known for around the internet, I thought I'd start off with this drum instead, which is a Dunnett Classic Drums stainless steel. It's a 13x7. It's in matte black finish, and obviously it's got chrome hardware. It's got 8 tube lugs, 8 double-ended tube lugs. It's got triple flanged hoops. I've more recently, in the last couple of years, retrofitted this Dunnett strainer on it as well. I can't remember if it's an R2 or an R3, but it's a fantastic strainer. If you've never come across it, that's the action on there. And probably the cooler factor about it is that you can move it around like that. And that's particularly helpful if you like to have the strainer at a set angle. I also like it because it's still quite easy to get to. The thumb screw there is quite easy to manoeuvre. I've got Remo heads on this. I've got a coated ambassador on the top, and I've got the standard snare side on the bottom. The pure sound wires, I can't honestly remember if I've put them on there or they were on there at the time. I've got a feeling I probably put them on there at some point, just to change up the sound slightly. If you've never seen one of Ron's drums up close, the bearing edge is formed from the end of the shell. It's not like, say, a Ludwig Superphonic, a 400, where the end of the drum, where the end of the shell is bent over slightly, which then forms the bearing edge. These are simply the end of the shell, which have then been rounded off to form the edge. And the consequence of that is you get a sharper edge around the drum upon which the head can sit. I don't know if you can also see from the angle there, the snare bed, which is this bit here and there, that's got to be about 1/3 of an inch deep, certainly on this drum. You'll probably be able to see it more with the wrinkles in the head if I move it slightly like that. That is probably deeper than most snare drum manufacturers do. If you look at a Drum Workshop, for instance, or an old Rogers Dynasonic, they're very, very thin, gradual snare beds, and they don't really look like there's anything there unless you put it on a granite top or a glass top or something, in which case you'll be able to see that there is something there. But anyway, this drum I ordered in early 2003, which was a bit of a surprise to me when I looked the other day, because I didn't realise that it had been 10 years. But I ordered it because I was rather curious about Ron's work. I'd read a lot about it in Modern Drummer, and I'd read other places, and I looked it up, and I thought that I'd go for it. So I think the drum cost me about £550 10 years ago, which was expensive, but it wasn't tremendously expensive at the time. It certainly didn't go on to be tremendously expensive, although it is obviously still an expensive drum in that respect. But I thought that one of these drums, one of Ron's drums, would be something that I was going to like. I thought that the sound would be something that I would like, and it turned out that I was right, thankfully. Otherwise it would have been a bit of an expensive mistake. But the other thing actually which affects the sound, if you can see, is there's no air vent. And this drum was made before Ron came up with the idea of the hyper vent, or certainly before he publicised it anyway. And the hyper vent is something that you could probably look up on his website, or just look up anywhere on Google or something. But that affects the sound in that there's obviously nowhere really for the air to escape. And some people feel that I think that it makes the drum sound a little bit more boxy. I personally tend to think that it gives a different characteristic to the drum, and it's something that I was actually expecting, and it's something that I got from the drum. It's a little bit like like a drum workshop drum. If you tune it a certain way, they have a sort of nasal honk to them almost, and it's very, very telltale that it's a DW snare drum. And I think to a degree, certainly with the earlier ones of these drums, and the thinner shell and the bearing edge being as it is, that also gives them a sort of more unique characteristic in terms of the sound. So, but this drum was it was actually made, I think it's the 8th of July 2003. The drum's called Mink because Ron names all of his drums rather than gives them serial numbers. When I actually picked the drum up, I went actually down to the local depot to pick it up on my lunch hour, and I got the drum out of the box in the car, and I thought I'd actually ordered everything in matte black, so it'd be a black shell, black hardware, and was somewhat surprised and a fraction disappointed for a little bit when I obviously realised that that's not the case. But I got over that pretty quickly. I mean, it's only a trivial thing, and it obviously doesn't have any effect on the sound. But I went back to the office, and I got back on with my work, and I hadn't been back that long when I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said that he knew someone who was selling a Noble & Cooley Alloy Classic snare drum. And if you don't know what Noble & Cooley Alloy Classic snare drum is, it's a matte black shell with black hardware, which is what I wanted all along in the first place. Anyway, so I subsequently bought that drum as well, and that's in a pile of drums somewhere in here. I don't know actually where. It might be one of the cases here that you can't see. But anyway, I will come to that at another point. Well, that's, as I said, that's this drum, the stainless steel. If you want to check out Ron's work, I think it's DunnettClassicDrums.com. It is worth checking out his work. He does, especially the metal drums. He's got some very unique ideas, and I personally think he's one of the best metal snare drum makers out there. Obviously, he makes the odd kit as well. I've never tried one of his kits, but certainly for his snare drums, of which I've probably got about half a dozen, they're up there with some of the best. So enjoy the rest of the video.